Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Album Fight Club. As always, I'm Mike Kane. I'm here with my co-host Cody.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, and believe it or not, we have another guest. I know on episode 3 we said that we would try and get a guest every third episode, and we're now on like episode 20 something, and we actually have a guest again. The ironic thing, though, is that it's the same guest. It's the same dude we had the first time. Jason Adams, you're guest number 2, but you're still guest number 1. How we doing?
Hey, pretty ladies. I don't know why, I don't know why I said that. I'm doing pretty good. Probably the same way I was, 7 years ago whenever you guys started this. Just a little bit fatter. That's probably what
I
happened.
think we all are, honestly.
I look at I looked at the two of you guys and I thought they're catching up. I don't feel so bad about it anymore. Man boobs are making a comeback. We'll get, like the Kramer said, we'll get a thing of the bro or the whatever, the bro, right? What was it called?
Let's go.
Yeah, we've been I think our podcast is a little plagued and cursed in that we've been struggling to get guests on this thing. We had 3 other guests lined up at various times, and all of them fell through. So we were like, let's just count on the one reliable guest we've had, which is of course Jason Adams. So we're happy to have him here.
Those guests sound like they were losers anyway, so you
The
don't need
thing, the thing that's awesome is we will confirm a guest, and then day of the guest will just fuck off into the vast void, and it's like, we had a plan. Where are you?
Well, I think the problem is that I have kids, so this is like a look forward to event for me. Whereas them, they're just like, you're a passing phase
Right.
of like, I don't give a shit if I'm here or not. Whereas I'm like, oh my God, next week, I can't wait.
It's just Mike and Cody.
Yeah. But anyway, as always, we are here to discuss an artist, 2 albums in particular. And today we have chosen to round about to Soundgarden to continue talking about grunge artists. We've talked about Nirvana and Pearl Jam on the one episode where we talked about 2 artists, but now we're coming back around to grunge to talk about Soundgarden, and in particular, their 3rd and 4th albums, Badmotorfinger and Superunknown. So, Jason, I think at some point in our friendship, which we've been friends for over like a decade at this point, I think somewhere along the line you mentioned enjoying Soundgarden, and so when this episode came up, I'm like, I think Jason liked Soundgarden. So what is your experience with Soundgarden as a band?
So I was probably alive when this band was around, unlike you two guys.
Good point.
Crazy.
But to be honest with you, I love Soundgarden, and this is going to sound like a crazy statement. Hindsight now that we're already about to get into this, but I would have really liked to do Audio Slave versus Soundgarden, because I think the linchpin of what it is, Chris Cornell is my favorite vocalist of all time. So the reason I like Soundgarden a lot is because I like Chris Cornell, and I feel like Chris Cornell is one of the few guys you could add him to any band. You could have him reciting like bad writings on a bathroom stall and it would sound cool, man. He's got that quintessential rock voice, right? It's basically, you could put him in the 80s, you can put him in the 90s, 2000s, even modern. I think even modern vocalists, probably, like if you're using like Linkin Park, Chester probably is stealing like vocals from, he probably loved listening to him. So yes, Soundgarden, love Soundgarden. I grew up listening to those songs. I still listen to those songs. So yes, I love Soundgarden.
What about you, Cody?
Oh man, this is gonna break your heart. I thought I liked Soundgarden, and I thought higher of them in the grunge kind of argument. And dude, after doing this listen, man, let me tell you, I think Soundgarden might be my least favorite grunge band.
Oh wow!
This
man. Are we including? Go ahead.
Okay. So, growing up, my best friend was really into grunge. He was a grunge kid. I guess that just is what happens when you grow up in like a coal mining town, right? You just end up buying flannel shirts from Pendleton, and then you end up going, yeah, I fucking hate my downtown. And so, I did we listened to a lot of Nirvana, a lot of Pearl Jam, a lot of Alice in Chains, and a lot of Soundgarden. And, the hits are hits for a reason, right? But I've always found Soundgarden, previously to this listening experience, almost always as if like Led Zeppelin listened to like the Jesus Lizard, Mm-hmm. You get this like they just do this funny thing where every once in a while it just seems like someone did like a lot of peyote and they just like ramble off, and then they come back. It's like, okay, yeah, sorry, we had to go walk away for a second.
It's like a classic acid rock kind of vibe they've got kind of going on.
Yeah, it's like if someone was trying to hide Zappa from their parents. You know, they're like, oh, I'm getting into, you know, Frank Zappa, but my mom can't know. But yeah, you know, Soundgarden's cool. You know, the hits are the hits, and it's a shame that Audio Slave only did, what, 3 records?
Yeah.
Yeah, because, man.
2?
Yeah, it was...
2 sounds... I thought it was 1, honestly.
It's 2 for sure, but I can't know if there's a third one.
There might be a third one.
2 of those are insanely good.
Oh, yeah.
That first album's insanely
good. The first record's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, what's funny is...
You're getting the greatest rhythm section
let's just be
in the 90s.
Hold on. If we're talking about the reason I said I would like to see Soundgarden versus Audio Slave is because, let's just be honest, we've had this conversation before, because it literally would be Rage minus Zach, but add Chris Cornell. So for me, it's like a wet dream. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like I get the best of both. However, I still would take Rage over Audio Slave, but it's a different vibe of music. It's a different sound.
Yep.
But that's beside the point.
Yeah.
I guess I'm in like a middle road between you two, which is I like Soundgarden a lot. They're not my favorite grunge act, but I also don't think they're the worst grunge act or the weakest grunge act. Like Cody, I love the hits, and some of these lesser, like the deep cuts, I think are sometimes better than the hits, actually. There's a lot of songs on here that I'm like, I cannot believe this wasn't a lead single.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are songs on these records where I'm like, I don't think this needed to be here. We could totally skip this song and nothing would be lost. So I think it's interesting that the three of us are sort of in different lanes of appreciation.
Now, hold on. Now, I wouldn't say Soundgarden is my favorite grunge band. I think my favorite vocalist by far is Chris Cornell. If I had to go in those quintessential 4, for me, Pearl Jam would probably still move its way up just from the lyrical writing sense of what it's doing.
Mm-hmm.
No offense, but Alice in Chains is at the bottom. I know I'm going to upset people on that one, but for me, the problem is Alice in Chains, I can only think of like 2 songs off the top of my head. I probably know more. Wood ? That's the only song that I can remember. Right?
You're insane.
But what I'm saying is, no, I'm not saying it's bad. I like that song, but that's the song I always remember from Alice in Chains. And there's more, obviously, but the problem is that I think I listened to Soundgarden so much because I liked the vocal work there that I'm more familiar with that music, and I'm more familiar with Pearl Jam because, let's just be honest, Chris Cornell is doing the same thing Eddie Vedder is, just I can understand him. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Like he's more of a clearer diction, and so I think, but yeah, I mean, I just have never been a huge Alice in Chains fan. I respect them. I think they do good music, but it's just never been the one for me at the front.
It's a whole other conversation of, who's the greatest grunge. And in fact, one thing I mentioned to Cody is we did that album rank club episode where we ranked the big 4 records that we did. Eventually we'll hit Alice in Chains, and then it would be fun to do, okay, we've covered Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, and Alice in Chains, the big 4 of grunge. Let's do an album rank club with them. And maybe Jason will come back for that, because Jason's clearly a fan of grunge acts, so he would have good input there as well. But for now, we've got to talk about these 2 records, unless Cody looked like you were about to say something.
You know, I always love having Jason back. I do want to say this before we dive into these 2 records. To elaborate on something that Mike briefly mentioned, y'all, you got to know when to stop putting songs on your fucking records. It is 2024. No record beyond, like, the deluxe edition of Blue Train by Miles Davis should be 1 hour and 10 minutes. And that's what did me in for this. You get to the end of Superunknown, and it's like Superunknown is 1 hour and 10 minutes long. That's crazy. That's insane.
Okay.
I mean, it's a little long, but look, I think this is interesting. I'm actually interested. I don't know what Jason feels in terms of which one he likes more. I don't know what Cody feels in terms of which he likes more. All I'll say is I went into this thinking, oh, I clearly like this one more. And by the end, I was totally convinced the other one was better. And I don't want to spoil which one is what, but one thing we did agree on is that these 2 records, once again, Badmotorfinger, Superunknown, if you know Soundgarden, these are like the 2 Soundgarden records that people talk about, usually throw up in the upper echelon. The thing about them, though, is that Badmotorfinger has 12 tracks where Superunknown has 15. And so track by track didn't really make sense. So we're going back to the old wagon of let's just talk about one record top to bottom, then the other, and then at the end we'll surmise which one we think is better. And I think that it's only fair to start with Badmotorfinger since it's the one that came out first of these two. And I mean, I'm sure you guys agree, but I think Badmotorfinger has a pretty strong opening run of tracks.
Those first four.
Yeah.
The first four are fantastic.
Exactly. The first four in particular.
And it has my favorite personal Soundgarden song on it.
Okay.
So,
well, let's just open up with the opener, Rusty Cage, which we've already said it's a strong run in my opinion, and Rusty Cage is a great opener. I really think that I don't know if this was the lead single, right? I wasn't at the time. I don't remember if this was the case, but like, what a way to open your album. Some artists, like, they'll put their lead single at number 2 or their like strongest track at number 2, 3, 4, whatever. I don't know if this is the strongest song on Badmotorfinger, but it makes a very strong statement for it. Catchy as hell. Great performances from everybody. If you've never heard Chris Cornell's vocals before, he blows you out of the gate with this thing. You're like, holy shit, this guy is something. But the real magic, I think, of Rusty Cage is that last minute where they just drop that breakdown groove, and it is just like the sauciest thing ever. You can't help but get stank face in that moment. And it, like I said, it's a very strong opener in my opinion.
Yeah, Allison, not Allison Cage. I'm sorry. Good, Jason.
Well, no, I was going to say is Rusty Cage is one of those songs, and like, I mean, we've all probably heard the cover as well, that Johnny Cash did. And the thing is I think it's a song that works on so many different levels. Like you could be a really heavy, hard song, like they're coming out of the gate with, and it can also be like a more lower, softer tone song. It's kind of like it works. And I think for me, I'll preface this with going back, listen to the song again. Obviously, I've heard the singles off of Badmotorfinger 1,000 times, but you listen to an album all the way through, and you sort of go back and you're trying to listen to track by track. I understand, and I'm going to use Audioslave again. I understand how Chris Cornell got into Audioslave, because a lot of these songs are simple, very political, social commentary on certain things. And you could definitely, I would say, I think I understand why Soundgarden was so popular as a grunge band, because they were Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, and Alice in Chains have a more clear message of how they're feeling than Nirvana does. Does that make sense? And Rusty Cage clearly sets a tone for that. And I think that's probably how they got their groove, because I'll start this from the beginning and say this. I think Nirvana's like, I'm sad at my dad and I want to sit in the house and cry and talk shit. And you know what I'm saying? And whereas like Soundgarden is, I'm pissed off, I'm fucked up, these are the reasons I'm fucked up, and I'm not going to hide the fact that I'm fucked up, and I'm going to tell you, and these are my vices and my problems. And it's like I'm opening book. It's almost like a therapy session at times when I listen to Badmotorfinger. It's like he's going to a therapist and pitching out, this is why I'm fucked up. I drink too much. I smoke too this. I do too long. I'm especially when we get to Outshined, I'm worried about shit. I don't know what's going on. Right. And I think that's what I liked about Rusty Cage, is Rusty Cage really just starts at the beginning. It's like, this is the album, but I want to break free. And this album, I'm just literally going to break free. I'm going to try and break this cage. I'm going to try and get out there. I'm trying to go for it 100 miles an hour. And I like Rusty Cage a lot. I think it's a great opener. And I think it sets that tone of, this is a political album. This is a social commentary album. If you don't like it, you're not part of this movement, and you're not part of the world that we live in right now. It's got Reaganism. It's got all that kind of stuff going into the angstiness, but from an adult perspective, right? Like, we're mid-20s and we're talking about our angst. We're not 12-year-olds talking about our angst. Right.
Yeah.
Maybe, from my perspective.
I totally agree. I think on a lot of Badmotorfinger, you get not only the showcase of a young singer who really feels like they're giving the opportunity to propel their craft, because a lot of this record, Chris Cornell is screaming. I mean, he is full chest screaming. But the rest of the band that he had, that comprises of Soundgarden, man, they are just on it. This whole record is full of like, it's almost like it just kind of feels like Chicago blues, but Chicago blues from someone who grew up in like Tacoma, Washington. Like you walked into a record store and you picked up like a blues record, and then you learned that through like a PV amp. Yeah, Rusty Cage, I mean, it's a banger. You know, this whole record has this like almost Led Zeppelin feel to it where you know what you're getting, but it doesn't mean it's not enticing. You're getting some cool riffs, you're getting someone who can legitimately sing, uh good bass, good drums, but Rusty Cage also kind of there's that little section in the middle where it feels like somebody really cared about like the Sex Pistols, you know, where they just do this thing where they're like, we're gonna drop it down a second, we're gonna just make it a little nasty, kind of like Mike said, saucy. And so yeah, I think this is a fantastic way to open a record. Um, really crazy, really crazy that Johnny Cash chose to cover this song. Like it
Oh
makes sense, but man, just like what an honor that must have been, you know? Yeah.
And again, to reiterate, I think it's one of those things where, like, if you've never heard Soundgarden before, the whole track is enough, I think, to make you go, okay, I'll buy this. I'll listen to the whole thing. But when you get to that last minute, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm sold on this thing, right? I'm excited to listen to everything else that's on this record. Now, do I think they keep it up throughout the whole record? No. But you know, that huge thing, that whole minute comes through and it ends, you're like, wow, that was crazy. And before you can even utter the next thing, you get this like slide guitar note that is just like to the depths of your stomach, just like the heaviest slide you've ever heard. And they just come in with that outshined riff. And if it wasn't heavy before, it's fucking heavy now. And you're like, oh my dear God. Second track, Outshined, maybe my favorite song on this record. I mean, it's just so good. And we were joking about it in text message, but one of the great parts is chorus, right? I'm not even going to attempt to mimic Chris Cornell because I'm just going to make a fool of myself, as I always do when I attempt to mimic vocals. But he does the outshined, outshined, and that repetition, and then the slide again.
Yeah.
And after that first chorus, he just does that screech. And it is like, okay, if you weren't sold already, now you have to be sold on this band. Chris Cornell is a vocalist. Just everything this album can offer and does offer a lot of the times. It's a great second track to a great opening to this whole album.
And there's, I would say this, going back to the very end of Rusty Cage into this track too, it's also one of those moments where if you were listening to this album and you heard it, you'd be like, I want to see this fucking band live.
Oh yeah.
Like you immediately go, I want to see what this band kind of energy, because Chris Cornell, we were talking about him yelling. It's like he can get really like his kind of deepiness he can do, and then he can get and like he can go like this whole, like his voice almost sounds like that same slide at times where he's doing that, like he gets that almost like you could hear him singing on like like one of those classic rock metal bands. Like you could see like if Iron Maiden was touring today, imagine, like they are touring today, obviously, but if they had like, but if Cornell could have led that band, and you would have been like, oh shit, I can buy this. This could fucking play. Like you could hear him doing grunge, metal, blues, and he has. I mean, he covers Sinead O'Connor, and the infamous live covering is so incredible. His voice is great. But Outshined has one of my favorite lines in all of music. That I think is like one of my favorite lines.
Does it involve states?
Yes.
Yep.
That is one of the best lines.
Yeah, it's a good line.
Like, if you don't know it, it's, I'm looking California, but I'm feeling Minnesota. And like, you hear that line and you go, holy shit, I know exactly what that means. I 100% know what that means. And so there's those moments where those great lines, you go, fuck yeah. And then he just goes, you're like, oh fuck, dude. There's like poetry and like craziness going on. And from an instrumental point, you guys are more the musicians than me, but these first 3 or 4 songs, they are really trying things, and they're not pulling the same grunge. And that's why I think I like them so much, is they're trying, like, there's some like Eastern music sound they're pulling out, and there's some like Western music and Eastern music. They're mixing these genres, which is like the Led Zeppelin vibe you guys are talking about. But it's also like, they're also heavy hitting with this like grunge vibe feel with this. Anyway, yeah, Outshine, not my favorite on the album, but it's probably my top 3 of their favorite songs, but it's not my favorite on this album.
If Outshined isn't your favorite, I think I know what it is.
Okay.
And when we get to it, I'll say, is this your favorite?
Okay.
But we'll get to that.
Yeah, dude. Outshined, it's almost like in a separate competition with me with Damn That River by Alice in Chains. Both of these just have this like Man, you are stuck in the middle of like a mosh pit right now. Like the crowd has come unglued. You're in the middle of this thing, and you're just gonna have to ride it out. Once again, same thing as Rusty Cage, dude. Killer riff, got everybody doing their thing. Chris Cornell's fucking sing his heart out. A perfect second song. I think this might be possibly the strongest showing on Badmotorfinger, at least until you get to a couple of the later tracks. But yeah, no, it's really hard to kind of almost like articulate because it's a formula that we know so well. It's just they found a unique way to kind of make it enticing, where it really it feels like when they were writing this, it seems like just a bunch of people who were younger took a formula and said, we're going to throw it out the window. We just want to make guitar music, and no one else is making this kind of guitar music. And then they ended up finding their crowd, once you get to grunge. But like this almost really feels more like, in a way, it almost feels like just like in like a kind of more updated version of the Stooges. It's got that kind of like raw sexiness to it, and I think that's something that's kind of under discussed, especially once you get to this like next song, Slaves. It's like
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Cody. I'm sorry, but I was thinking about Outshine too. Another thing is just what the conversation is in the song too, though. I think that's what makes it great in another way, is because it's literally a guy who's so self-aware that he's willing to talk about how he is and this vulnerability. Does that make sense? Like there's a vulnerability in the story, in the lyrics that's going on there. Basically, like he's willing to tell you that I'm feeling like shit. Like I want to try and be cool. I want to dress great. I want to look sexy. I want to look cool, but I feel like shit inside. I drink. I do drugs. I feel like shit. Like this very kind of like being a rock star isn't fucking cool, man. But I like it, and it's this mentality of it. And I think there's a weird self-awareness to that is just brilliant, which it makes you kind of also think how Chris Cornell sort of killed himself eventually, because Outshine is sort of almost like this sort of layering of who he was anyway.
Yeah,
a self-understanding.
Yeah, when we eventually get to Like Suicide, which is literally the last track we're going to talk about, it's very weird to think that that's like the last song of their biggest record. But anyway, we'll get to that. But Cody, you already mentioned Slaves and Bulldozers. Do you want to open with it?
Great song.
Yeah, I mean, my one gripe with this song truly is there's no reason this song has to be fucking 7 minutes long, dude. Other than that, it rips. Because Jason, here's the context. The last episode of Album Fight Club we did was Jane Doe against You Fail Me. Really tight, like 3.5 minute songs that did every direction you can imagine. A couple of them are like 16 seconds. And we get to this and it's like, fuck, dude. 9 of these songs are 5 minutes and 40 seconds of just like guitar, But like, to its credit, I like that this song has the audacity to do what it does. Because, like, you're getting that kind of, like, when did this record come out, guys?
90...
I'm going to say 93, 4?
2? 91?
Somewhere in the early 90s, in the first half.
It might have been 92. It might have been almost the same year as Nirvana and their other shit.
So it starts off with that giant 90s bass guitar. Every bass guitar in the 90s sound exactly like this. And it's like, I know where I'm at. I know what we're doing.
91.
Yeah, okay, 1991. So probably has what's the big Jane's Addiction record? Habitual.
The one, not one mountain song, is it right?
Yeah. So I imagine there's a cycle here, right? Where it's like you get these art bands who are just like being rock bands, trying things. And I like Slaves and Bulldozers, but man, it's just like, why is this song 7 minutes fucking long, dude? There's no reason. But it's a good song either way. It's just holy shit.
But I think I think they're attempting to be not grunge. Does that make sense? I don't know if Soundgarden was trying to be grunge. think they got into this grouping because they were in that same grouping with grunge bands. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think arguably none of the big grunge bands were trying to be grunge,
No,
which is the funny thing.
Soundgarden were trying to be a rock band. They just haven't had that sound like that Seattle sound.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I bet
That
it was
wet,
just
trashy
I bet
sound.
it was just like a convenient label to put onto something,
Sure,
you know? Because
sure.
like you listen to Siamese Dreams, and it's like that's objectively a grunge record, and then what you get to fucking Melancholy, and it's like none of this is connective. Someone just at a
Siamese
in
Dream
an
is
office
like
building.
emo.
Yeah, that's a hard
Siamese-
conversation.
Siamese Dream's pre-emo, bro.
No way.
They're emo, pre-emo.
I'm gonna make you a
Well,
slave and bulldoze your opinions, brother.
I had a Siamese Dream T-shirt. I'm a huge Pumpkins fan, so let's not even talk about.
That's crazy.
We've had this talk. This is a different band.
Yeah, Cody, we need to check ourselves. Jason was actually alive and thriving when all this music was coming out.
was.
Yeah.
I was 11 years old when this album came out.
Jason
when I heard
was
Rusty Cage, I was probably like, "What is this?"
Jason was using the Batman fucking shampoo in the shower. He's like, "Spoon Man."
Yeah, probably so. I probably was. I probably had an oversized sweater with like thumb holes that I
No,
made
not
myself.
not the thumb holes.
A neck that comes down like this far. It's all ratted with like a red T-shirt underneath or some shit.
Jason,
like
you're
a
wearing a lot of
beanie that
sweaters
doesn't
in the
fit
summer, son. Are you doing okay?
Dude,
I don't wanna
you
talk
sweated
about
a lot when you were grunge. You were sweated a lot. It was
Yeah.
just like you were themed it.
Yeah, everybody
You
has
know.
like a Freddy Krueger sweater. That fucking green and red.
And Junko jeans,
No,
with airwalks on and long chains.
thank God. You ever heard the never mind. I'll tell it later whenever we're not in the middle of the song discussion.
Anywho, I think Slave and Bulldozers, I don't have a lot to say about it other than I think it's really good. I actually, Cody, kind of agree. I think you could easily shave a minute or a minute and a half off this thing and you're totally fine. But I do think it is still a strong song to be the first half of this record.
And I
Yeah.
think him just singing that one chorus line too, that I know why you've been shaking, right?
Yep.
Is how it goes. Anyway,
think so.
his voice over and over and over again, it sells it. Like that's what I'm saying. Most of these songs live or die on him versus when I think we get to Superunknown, I think the band steps up much further
Mhm.
in that album than they do on Badmotorfinger.
Now, Jason, is Jesus Christ Pose your favorite song?
It is. my
All
favorite
right,
song on this
then
album.
I'll give you the floor to open.
That intro, that fucking intro, dude. That intro to that song to me is like a movie. It's like an intro to a movie, and you're just like, what am I about to come into? Like it was the first time where it's a sound that it doesn't sound like anything else that by that point you've come into. It has like, you guys use this word a lot, that cinematic vibe. It's like a minute and a half open intro, and I know Cody's like, that's too long, but I feel like that intro works for me because it's really cool. I like a cool intro that sort of builds into something. And then it goes into this song. I feel like it works right now in a time period. Like you listen to Jesus Christ Pose right now and the state of the world that's going right now, and it feels like it works. It's like this hypocritical ideology that people come at you with, and like, I don't know. I just love it. I love everything about it. I think that it's a song on this album. Rusty Cage and Outshine still work, but Jesus Christ Pose, when it came out then, worked, but I think it works even more now because it's just one of those songs that continuously could be a classic. And it's not like a hugely popular one. It's a deep cut. It's more of a deep cut track. I've heard it before on the radio, but it's usually been on like Lithium or some shit.
Yeah.
Right. And it's usually played as like deep cut, deep track. And I just think that song from a musical sense and a lyrical sense, it's simple and yet really complex at the same time. It is dark and heavy and aggressive, and it doesn't pull any punches with it. Like clearly it's a throw at the church. It's people that think they're better than you. It's a throw at people that come at you with like a false prophecy, right? You know, they come with you like Jesus Christ was like, oh, I want to give you a hug. I love you so much. You know, that kind of bullshit that you always get, right? And we all in the theater world, we know it. You have people that come at you like that. You have people like in real life. And I just think for me, Jesus Christ Pose, as I've gotten older, has stood out more than any other song that they've done. Does that make sense for me?
Sure does.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if Outshined isn't my favorite, Jesus Christ Pose definitely is, at least when it comes to this album. I'm with Jason. I think that intro is really cool and
man.
easily, in my opinion, Chris Cornell's best performance on this record. Like you were talking about, he can get in that low register, but when he gets in that high register, and this whole song, he's like in that upper, like nasally high register. It's so cool though. It works through the whole damn thing. And just the imagery of like the idea of a Jesus Christ pose, and that's like a person coming at you with that. Like, I think it's fantastic. And I mentioned earlier that it's the 4-song run of the beginning of Badmotorfinger that's really great. And of course, I think it goes down a little bit from here, but Jesus Christ Pose is really, really strong song.
Yeah, I like Jesus Christ Pose. Agree with everything you guys have said. I think I would like this song more if I loved Sonic Youth. That's like the big comparison I'm getting here. Is if I really like Sonic Youth. You guys ever fuck around with Sonic Youth?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if I really loved that band, I think I would dig this song more. But for its merits, really good. It's Soundgarden, you know.
I'll use it like this because I feel like the same way about it. I'm a big Nine Inch Nails fan, and I feel like this has that sound, that same, like you're kind of in that vibe where it's that feeling. You know, it's dark, it's heavy. Like that song could be on the fucking original Crow soundtrack. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of like, I don't know. Yeah.
This is right after.
But I also
Burn.
feel like the first 4 of those albums, you were just saying the first 4 of these songs, it almost feels like these first 4 could have been an EP. Like, like you didn't have to do a fucking anything. Like it almost feels like it comes full circle. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
From Rusty Cage all the way into Jesus Christ Pose. Like that could be a full circle album. And it's like a 20 minutes right there. Yeah, 25 minutes.
Great EP.
Like great. Like if you just had those 4, I'd have been like, this fucking sold, man. This band, I want to see everything they do in the future.
Well, and then what's nice is once you get out of Jesus Christ Pose, you fall into what I think is actually a really stellar song with Face Pollution. Because I like punk music, and it's a nice breakaway from the kind of medium to long form rock songs we've been getting. And I like there's a little riff battle at the end. I like that it's under 3 minutes. I like that Chris Cornell's doing his thing. I like that there's a saxophone at the end. It's cool. It's like, okay, thank you for having a little bit of diversity. I'm glad that we're able to tighten this up a little bit. And actually, in my opinion, Face Pollution is where the cutoff is for the dip.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, Face Pollution for me, it's a fun, punky song. To me, it sounds like it belongs on a Tony Hawk Pro Skater game. Yeah. It even has that classic woo at the beginning. That's like totally skater punk vibes. Yeah. But something about it just didn't do it for me like the first 4 songs did. The only moment in the song that really did it for me was that outro where he's just face pollution and just like repeating that. That's really great. And I wish, it's hard to say that's the whole song, right? But I wish that energy, because it's a step up in energy for me, at least for what came before it. Not that the rest of the song isn't energized. It's just like that was like a jolt of energy that I wish the entire track had. So I like it. I don't love it.
I think it's such a tonal shift in the first 4, but I think I do like it. It almost feels like if you had switched Rusty Cage and Face Pollution, like you could come out with Face Pollution and then transitioned into Outshined, or Face Pollution into Rusty Cage. I think you could do it that way, but I think the problem is you've built up this energy that's going so heavy, so long, that it's a happier energy. Does that make sense? Like it feels lighter than the other 4 songs that are the predecessors of it. So yeah, but I would agree. I do like it, Cody. It's not, but because of the first 4, it's more of a dip down for me. It takes a step back.
That's totally fair. Well, see, do you guys have anything else you want to say about Face Pollution?
No.
Hey, here's where I wanted to drop that joke. Did you ever hear what Kurt Cobain's favorite color was?
I already know this joke's going. Go ahead.
I don't know the joke, so
go ahead.
Mike, what do you think his favorite color was?
I'm going to say red.
No, it was blue.
Blue.
One eye blew that way and the other went that way.
Wow.
You never heard that joke before?
I've not heard that joke.
Yeah. Like, wasn't the old... I thought it went, what color of Kurt Cobain's eyes?
Oh, no, that's what it is.
blew both ways.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're laughing at this.
I'm sorry. Why is this suddenly part? What does this have any relevance to?
This guy brought the joke up. I didn't say it.
It's face pollution. His face polluted. It went fucking everywhere.
Oh my god! What? I thought we were done with face pollution.
It's like that movie Scanners where people's heads are getting popped.
Yeah. Let's go. Technodrome. Okay, sorry about that. Technical difficulties, everybody.
Cody, since you said this is where the album dips, how do you feel about Somewhere?
I fucking hate this song, dude.
Yep. It needs to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Yo, we get to face pollution, and I'm like, thank God. I like Rufus and you get to Somewhere, and it's like, no, you gotta have the good to have the bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's good performances, but it's not exciting. Like, nothing that's going on is, like, wowing me like all the tracks before it. And by the time we hit the halfway mark of Somewhere, I'm like, I'm kind of done with this. Like, I just want to get to the next song.
It feels tired, and like they just threw it on there, like they needed to have 12 tracks.
Well, and the thing about rock music, especially, it's like these, like, tenured legacy bands like Alice in Chains, like Soundgarden, we're not listening to Low by David Bowie. You know, I want there to be some kind of energy most of the time. Like, I want it to keep me going, you know? And you get to Somewhere, and it's like, why? Why'd you do this? Because I feel like you just cut your legs out from underneath you, you know?
Well, you have more to say about Somewhere?
I don't. I'm be honest with you, the second half of this album, I don't have a lot to say about the second half of this album at all. Because I could say this. I listened to it because I ain't listened forever. By 3 or 4 tracks in, I'm like, holy shit, great album. Then you hit Somewhere, and then it goes into like Eyes Closed or whatever.
Yeah, Searching with My Good Eye Closed.
I love the name, but you're just, by that point on, you're like, where's this rest of this album going?
It's like
I'm falling asleep. Like, I got really high. I enjoyed the first half of the concert. By the second half, I'm tired. Yeah. It's like having kids. It's like you go home. It's like, now I'm watching Survivor. I'm about to pass out. Like, this is what's fucking happening.
Why did Searching with My Good Eye Closed need a 1.5-minute long intro of just like spacey nothingness? And then the guy comes in and goes, the cow says moo. It's like, dude, just get on with it. Like,
that fucking, you hear bands use like audio shit now all the time. Like, I just heard Nothing More. There's the newer band Nothing More, and they use fucking audio shit all the time. It doesn't bother me that much. I'm like, okay. And like, or like bands that always want to use like shit from The Prisoner, like, oh, was he a prisoner? Did he ride a bicycle? That kind of shit. But this motherfucker, he starts talking. I was like, what is this stupid shit? I was like, it's like an infomercial in the middle of my thing.
Yeah.
I was just like, no. I was like, what is this? And I had a moment of like, do I just skip? Do I hit skip? I was like, no, I have to listen to this for this track.
You were tasked.
So as much as Cody says, I wish fucking Slaves and Bulldozers was 1.5 minutes shorter, they could have cut the minute off of this song. And I'm fine with the 1.5 minutes long on Slaves and Bulldozers compared to the minute in this one.
Well, you know what I kind of find funny about Searching with My Good Eye Closed, though, is that it almost feels like a proto Tool song in a way. Just if Tool were like happier. You listen to this song, and it's kind of like, okay, hold on. Why does this kind of feel like if Tool took like Ativan or something? It's like you just get this sense of like kind of like not necessarily like open happiness, but more like forced happiness. Kind of like I'm tricking myself with an upper.
I feel like Maynard James Keen would just be pissed that you even said this whole conversation.
Make more wine, buddy. I don't know.
Hooker sex is way better than this track would ever be. Let's just think about this.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's not horrendous. It's not awful. I'm not skipping it, but it's also like, it's just kind of boring. Like it does when you have such a strong run at the top and then literally, I mean, not to spoil the next couple tracks, literally you just have so many like okay songs. It's just like, man, you guys really front loaded this thing.
Well, it's almost like they learned when you get the Superunknown, like, spread the shit out. Yeah. Like, don't put it all in the beginning. Like, you gotta, it's like every band, like, it was like almost a learning curve. Like, you can't put all your hits like in the right beginning. You gotta load it up, man. Track, side A can't be all good. Side B be all B,
Well, but then, what I think is really interesting is that you get to, Room 1,000 Years Wide?
Mm-hmm.
Yo, this song kicks ass.
It's not a bad song.
It's not like, It's not the best song that I've ever heard, but like when you think about
Mhm.
when you think about grunge music, this is almost kind of like what you would if you like went to the generic store and you bought just the generic grunge CD. This is one of the songs. And it's like I'm into this. I like this song. I like that it's got a good riff, it's chunky, Chris Cornell's doing his thing. It's the
Mhm.
only song on this section where I felt inclined to write "Rest in Peace, Chris Cornell."
Mm.
I was like, I like this. Cool, man. You know, sometimes it doesn't have to be this like big grandiose thing. Sometimes you just got to be consistent. You know, sometimes you just got to be like, here's a good song. The next couple songs might be better. You know.
Yeah, Room a Thousand Years Wide, which first of all, great title. I think it's a
Yes.
really cool title. But I agree, Cody, that chunky riff is very chunky, and I like chunky riffs. And I think Chris's performance, and again, everybody's performances, they're not bad performances here. They're just not doing anything exciting
Or
like they did in,
original.
or original in those like they did in those first 4 tracks. I will say I do like the sax in the outro. I think that's really cool to add that.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, though, like it's just another mid song for me where I'm like, I could take it or leave it.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I feel like this is the reverse of the track, because I think by this point, the problem is when you hit like somewhere, eyes closed, room with 1,000, it almost feels like it's the same 3 songs that are running together. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
I'm trying to say it's almost like this is one long track. And by the time I got to like a room 1,000 years wide, which like you said, the names of some of these songs are like, oh man, these are cool names. The song isn't as cool as the name, and it feels like it's too long. Like I'm like, this should have been like a minute and a half, like but combustible thing that should have happened to like reignite the back half of this album, and it just keeps on kind of slogging along.
Yep.
Even though, like we said, the talent is clearly there. It's almost like it's literally like I made a joke, like they took a hit of Ambien right before they recorded this album, and it kicked in on track 5. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say? Like literally, it's like I drank 6 beers, the energy was all there, and now it's 1 a.m. at Murphy's. You know, like it's starting to go downhill, and you're like, when can we leave?
Right.
What's the next thing to do? That's what's feeling like it's happening with the back half of this album.
1 a.m. at Murphy's is the perfect analogy for
You
the
got
second
it.
half of this
You
record.
got it.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Very much so.
I don't
Golden
mind
Tee
being
turned
here.
off.
I just want to be anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Jason, mine right.
I like mine right. I like it because it's kind of reminiscent of Face Pollution. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like they were trying to catch themselves back up. They were trying to inject a little bit of something in there, a little more atmosphere. It's simple. It's super simple. Like I think that's what I like about it. It's just and he just sort of has that. Oh, I can't even think off the top of my head. But just what he's doing, it's just the lyric part of it. It's just simple, and it's not trying to be anything else than what it is. But I think why I like it is because it's a breath of fresh air after that run of just kind of snooze fest.
Mm-hmm. I will say it is different for sure. In
Yes.
fact, that little like guitar diddly intro he does,
Yeah.
that's literally Sex on Fire.
Yeah.
Like I swear that intro influenced Sex on Fire's intro because it's literally the same thing. But once you get past it and you get into the meat of the song, not to be a broken record here, but good performances, but you're not exciting me, right? I'm just kind of like going with emotions at this point. So unfortunately, it's more of the same for me.
Yeah, it's a shame that no one sat these guys down and was like, leave them wanting. You know, because at this point, dude, we're 45 minutes into this, and it's like, okay, man, I'm good. I got it. You like Led Zeppelin, okay? It's a good song, but yeah, no, go ahead.
But this is a question I think about too. Was it good then? Does that make sense?
I bet this was incendiary then.
They were like, "Oh shit, man! We never heard the sound kind of like this." But the problem is, we've had these sounds now by other bands that have improved on what they were doing. You know, they couldn't improve on the first 4 or 5, but they can improve on the back half.
Yeah,
like you said, Sex on Fire. That's a good point. It does sound a lot like that, and they just improved on what that vibe was.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine if I had like a Walkman, you know, and I was riding my Schwinn bike, you know, during like a nice cold fall, these songs would kick ass. It's 2024. Don't make your record an hour and 5 minutes long.
This is the background music for Stranger Things. This is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, it's like this is good, man. If you're a teenager buying like cheap weed, this is awesome. You know, I bet this killed somebody, you know? But like, man.
It killed Chris Cornell.
It did, yeah. Oh, boy.
He probably listened to this album and was like smoking a cigarette in his castle. Oh God,
like,
what the fuck was I thinking on the back half of this album?
You know? He's like, boys, this is it.
Well, he probably sounded like this. He's probably cool still when he said it though. Fucking ripped up jeans and shit in a black t-shirt. You know that's what he fucking looked like. Come on.
To the listener at home, you can't see Mike's very uncomfortable face.
All I'm saying is, if there's any Soundgarden fans listening, they've probably turned it off at this point. Because we're making fun of Chris Cornell's suicide. We're saying that Badmotorfinger is great at the beginning and then just gets worse. Yeah. So I don't know if they're still listening, if there are any.
They'll be okay.
If they're fans, they need to go back and listen to Badmotorfinger's second half of this album. Yeah. Because they probably gonna listen to the first fucking 4. They probably have the greatest hit from the rotation. Right. Don't even fucking listen to that shit.
They've taken some rubbing alcohol to the CD just so the first 4 song play on a loop.
Dude. If they're a big Soundgarden fan, first of all, they're listening to fucking Lithium on Sirius XM.
So
like Soundgarden's every 12th song, like in a fuckload of Pearl Jam in the middle. So like they're not even. It's like, come on.
Well, the unfortunate thing is that it's this downward trend that we're talking about. How the album just kind of gets bad, and for me, it hits rock bottom on Drawing Flies.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just, and it gets more upbeat. It's this really zany, like Captain Beefheart-esque like moment where there's just like these horn sections, and I'm like, I don't know. At this point, bro, I just kind of want to be done. Like you're trying these new zany things, and it's still not exciting me. I'm sorry. So like, good performances, but God, just like do something unique and interesting and whatever.
I've been meaning to interject this statement. I'm also coming off of doing like a Iggy and the Stooges listening session. I've been getting it like back into Iggy and the Stooges, where like a lot of their songs are like 2.5 minutes. You listen to Raw Power and it's like 17 minutes. It's like, yeah, cool. You get to this and it's like, why? Who just continue to let the riff play? And you like, Drawing Flies. It's like, yeah, it's cool. It's the blues, man. I like Leadbelly. It's the blues. Thanks.
Yep.
Fuck off. Just pick something new, man. Tune your guitar in a different way or something. I like you, everybody in Soundgarden. I'm glad you guys have found success. Holy shit. How? How did you get to the next record with this, you know?
I'll be honest with you. The last 3, I can't even fucking remember them. It sounds bad. It's like, it's almost one of those things where it was so to the point of, can I just get to Superunknown and listen to this album because I know this album much better? I guess that's probably it too. It's one of those things you listen to and you go, damn, I don't remember how bad this album was. Maybe I only remember the really good tracks off of it, and you don't remember the back half of it. Versus like, we all have albums that are like our favorite albums, and our albums that are like in our top 5 or 6, and we could sing every fucking song off of it, and it has some sort of connection to us, right? I feel like this album definitely falls into what we used to make a joke, which you guys talked about in your album, where you talked about Nirvana by Nevermind versus 10, right? Nevermind is a litany of just the hits, right? And you know the hits. The songs in the middle are only going to be known by fans, but the hits are quintessential. And I think this album, like there's, especially Rusty Cage, Outshine, and Slaves and Bulldozers, I hear a lot. Those 3 tracks you hear a lot. Outshine probably the most, but you know it, and you just go, yeah, those 3 songs fucking kill it. For me, Jesus Christ Pose fucking kills it. But I couldn't tell you the rest of them. Like I was listening to them, and I'm like, I don't even remember this fucking song. I don't remember this song at all. Like, did I even get to this album? I probably just stopped it and restarted the CD. Like, skipped back. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, just went back.
Yeah.
And that's probably what happened. Because I honestly, yeah.
Well, if that's the case, is there anything to say about Holy Water and New Damage, the last 2 tracks here?
They should have been a blues band. That's the only thing you can say. This is just the blues. This is just like Jay Giles' band blues.
Oh, don't insult Jay Giles. Compared to that ending.
Or it's like, yo, I really respect the ambition on Holy Water, because it's a goofy, good guitar riff, but man, cut it. No reason. No reason this is 5 minutes or whatever. You know?
I will say though, I love Holy Water's chorus.
Yeah.
I think that's a killer chorus. One that's like on par with the first 4 tracks personally. The rest of the song, yeah, I'm with you. It's not great, but when that chorus hits, I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, let's turn this up.
But that's a trend. I think it's a trend going on with all these songs. We all think Cornell's work is incredible.
Yeah, right.
And they're musically, they know what they're doing, but it's just the music itself is an unoriginal. Somebody else has done it better.
Yeah.
Before and after.
And I like the heft of New Damage. I like how heavy it is. It gives me stank face, but then it goes on for multiple more minutes, and I'm like, okay, I'm over it now.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Right. That's the problem with, like, you have an idea, and then you have to learn how to transition the idea into something new. You have to get out of part A. No one wants to hear part A unless you're doing it for like a bit, you know? Like, and once again, like the three of us have been saying, excellent execution from the band. But it's like, yo, trim these down. These are great drafts. Trim them down, man. I don't want to hear this song for 6 minutes. And like, not to continue just to talk about my own opinion on this, Dark Side of the Moon is my favorite record of all time. I've got a foot in the meandering business, you know? But like, it's like you get to this and it's like, it's inspiring, but it's like the execution just fell. You get past the first 4 songs and it's like, man, we're really burned all the logs. You know, we're running out of steam here. Now we got to make more steam for the next 40 minutes.
It's like the way you feel when you're listening to, like, you know, a jam band. Like, some people just jam band better. They just jam band better.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, I think it's clear how we all feel about this album. But I don't think it's a bad album. I think we've made clear at this point it's good performances throughout. That first run of songs is legendary shit. But like, they really front loaded this thing. And you know, I'll give the spoiler now. I opened this episode by saying that I thought I loved one of these records more, and it is Badmotorfinger, right? Going into this, I'm like, oh, Badmotorfinger's clearly the better one because it's got Outshined, it's got Rusty Cage, it's got Jesus Christ Pose. And then in re-listening to it, I was like, wow, I sort of forgot how, like, sorry to say, boring this latter half is. It's just like, it just does not do it like that first half does. With that spoiler in mind, I think it's clear which one I favor, but that's what we're moving on to now. So any final thoughts about Badmotorfinger before we move on?
I don't think I ever had any doubt which album I thought was better. I think I knew what songs were on. I think I forgot what tracks were on Badmotorfinger. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I'm so used to the hits that when I started listening, I was like, oh, this is on here. This is on here. This is on here. This is on here. And then the rest of it, you're like, what is this? Like, that's what happens. So I always thought Superunknown, mostly probably because I knew Superunknown better and I know the tracks on it. I have more affinity to certain songs on here. I also think it's just a better album than Badmotorfinger. Badmotorfinger, good beginning, felt like they knew what they're doing, and then it just trickled off, and it just sort of just lost all the steam it had from the beginning.
Well, you know, in a way, Badmotorfinger is almost like all of the grind and rigor of an Olympic gymnastic attempt. Because it's like, every once in a while, it really lands it, you trust it, you know exactly where your feet are going, you know how the hair, how the air feels, you know, against your skin, you know exactly what your body's going to do. And then occasionally, you just goof up. It's like, I'm just not here today, you know, maybe I'm not focused. But then you get to Superunknown, and for better or for worse, they stick it first try. The whole thing, I mean, obviously a landmark record, landmark songs. You know, I think
and
some
videos. I mean, fuck, the music videos are incredible.
Yeah, but but what it really feels like to me is with Superunknown, to try something new, you can't half-ass it, right? You have to just walk into the pool when you're gonna do something new, and I think that's what Superunknown does. It removes that barrier of, oh man, well, you know, maybe we should try this. It's like, no, we're gonna do it. Okay, we're just gonna full believe in it, and then if it works, it does, and if it doesn't, well, we can say we at least put our full weight behind the effort.
Yeah.
Was the walk into the pool a reference to the first song, Let Me Drown?
Yeah, well, I'll say yes.
Okay, well, good segue then. See, there, what's Jason? You said this, which is what's interesting about this album is that I think the consistency is way better here.
Mhm.
The two biggest tracks are dead center middle, right?
Yeah.
You get some big tracks early on. Let Me Drown though is more of a deep cut, and I think it's an interesting choice to start. I think it's this. I'm going back to Badmotorfinger here for now, which is I think it's got good performances. I think it's got good moments, but overall, it's kind of like it's okay. I could take it. I'm not going to skip it, but like, it's one of those songs where I'm waiting to like get to the next songs. It's in the way of me getting to the next couple songs. It's one of those kinds of things.
I'll play on it. So Let Me Drown. I agree. Let me. I don't think it's good, but I think you get the tone of what they're doing musically in it. Like like okay, this is going to have a lot more influence in certain things. They're playing with more instrumental type stuff. They're sort of tweaking where they're going. Like Cody says, they're sticking it. When it comes to the music, it's like anything they were attempting in Badmotorfinger, they're really attempting it now. And like I think tonally, it's setting you okay. What am I feeling here? There's this sort of like I'm not gonna say the magical sitar player, but you know what I'm saying? It's like this Indian like kind of like Western not in the Eastern music vibe going on. Like it feels like world music. Like they're making a world music Bowie kind of vibey kind of album, which pretty much leads into the second track. So to me, the first song to me feels like an intro song to the first track to the second song. If that makes sense.
Yep.
Like it's all building into that second song, which to me sets off a run of like too good, okay, too good, okay. You know what I'm saying? Like it has like anyway.
So actually, on the contrary of your opinions, I really love this song because I think I can understand the headspace where they were at. Because here's how I heard this. This song started, and the first thing I thought was, man, I bet Chris Cornell and Trent Reznor became friends. Because this feels like, it feels like a step right below the downward spiral. It's just got that oozy kind of like bleakness, where it's like they're sticking the attempt. It's like, okay, we want to write about things. No, I'm going to write about this on this song. And the band and the music is going to showcase it and vice versa. So whatever the band presents to me, if they present to me this like downer of a song, I'm not going to sing about listening to fucking Wiggles. It's like, no, we're working together in tandem now. And that's what I love about this song, because because you get to some of the songs on Badmotorfinger, and it's like these really dour kind of moments, but man, he's just going for it with these like huge vocal parts, and it's like, no, dude, you're singing about being addicted to smack, man. Maybe you don't need to do a falsetto run right now, And I think that's what this song does exceptionally, is it sets the tone of we're trusting the process,
Sure.
Yeah.
But how about that second track, Cody?
Man, honestly, it just sounds like early Foo Fighters.
What the fuck?
Wow.
Which I like.
Well, Foo Fighters probably took their shit from them. I mean, come on.
It's a good song. But
it's a
listen
great
to
song.
it.
It's a great song. Come on.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being compared to the Foo Fighters. I mean, they were friends.
If you're the Foo Fighters, couldn't you be compared to
Soundgarden?
Sure. So it very much sounds like maybe Foo Fighters took some influence from this, because it has that big kind of rock sensibility, but in a very adult manner. It's not like, yo, we're all in love tonight. It's like, okay, we're gonna sing about some stuff, but man, here's a chorus. You want a big guitar? We'll give you the big guitar because we put it there.
Yeah.
I should have handed this off to you, Jason.
What do you mean?
Instead of giving it to Cody clearly doesn't have much value for this song.
Well,
so I should have thrown it your way.
But I agree with Cody on the sense that it feels like a rock album studio song in some ways, in that sense. But I think that's what they needed. Does that make sense? Because you have that first track, which is, like you said, it does feel like kind of a Nine Inch Nails Reznor vibe going on. This kind of this hummingness of it, and then it goes into this song that's like, it's got this like boom, 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 and it's going. And I think what it's done is it's allowed your audience to listen to it, like, okay, this is where we're going, and then this melody that sort of plays, this underlining melody that's coming up, and it just feels, this is the ride, take it with me, here we go. It's like the first song is the climb up the roller coaster, and the second one is the coming down. Do you know what I'm saying? And then by the time you hit the third song, that's where the turn is, where the, so I feel like it's the excitement, it's the calm, it's the excitement of the storm that's coming. And I like the chorus a lot, and I like what they're doing instrumentally, because it literally is a much more mature sound. Like, it's their sound, but a bigger, more mature version of it. A better produced album, by the way. I don't know who produced this album. I wonder if it was Albini or like Vig or one of these guys that probably produced this album back in that time period. But it just feels like it's a cleaner, I'm sure we can look that up and Google it. But I mean, it feels like that more. Does it make sense? Like a tighter feel of a sound.
I just love the bounce of this song. Just such a great bouncy vibe to it, which carries in throughout the whole thing. I like the chorus, except that one moment where he goes, my wave, like he jumps over himself. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. That moment just gives me the ick for some reason. But literally every other part of this song, I'm for it. I think it's great. And it starts, I think, a pretty decent, solid run of songs. I know, Jason, you said like 2 and 1, but I think like a lot of the stuff here is really good.
Well, hold on. Okay.
So the guy who produced this record was Michael Beinhorn, who also did work for the Chili Peppers, Korn, and Soul Asylum.
That makes sense. Soul Asylum makes real sense.
Yeah.
It feels like Soul Asylum a lot.
Yeah. Well, and like, Jason, kind of to elaborate a little more on what you were saying, it feels like these choices are confident instead of, this is what we know. It's, we're trying something new, but we're about it, right?
Yeah. It's
and,
much more, like, it feels like they grew up between the last album and this album. Yeah.
Yeah, it's trusting the process. That's all it is. You can't throw everything up top, because then the rest of your record is shit. But it's like, all right, let's stagger it, man. Let's just flow. And it's really evident on the third song.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of growing up.
Fuck.
Yeah.
The intro of that song.
You want to talk about like a bona fide hit, like a genuine hit, So we talk about records.
Still fucking good, man. Still good song.
We talk about records on here occasionally where the record itself is very critically acclaimed, but occasionally it doesn't have like the big, I mean, this is a stadium popper, dude, And I mean, everything on Fell on Black Days is just synced in. Like
from
Jason
the moment
said,
it starts.
Yeah.
It's like, that's that riff that you get right at the beginning. I butchered that riff as I just said it, but I mean, but it's like that, like, it matches his vocals almost perfectly too. Like, his voice is doing the same thing that the music. It almost feels like his voice. We know a voice is an instrument, but it feels like he is the other instrument, and it's all flowing at the same, like the bum 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 bum. You could feel like a metronome, like going up, down, and his voice is doing the exact same things. And it's such a down fucking song. It's so like depressing. I mean, like, you're right, but at the same time, you're like, it's so catchy, and like, like you could just see a whole audience just in the song. You could just see everybody just being like, yeah, this is the band we liked from Rusty Cage and Outshine. This is the fucking band we came to see, right? Fell on Black Days. Now that's a song that I feel is pretty long, that doesn't ever lose it. It's completely complex all the way through.
Yeah, I agree with everything. I can't really add anything other than I think it's great as well.
Yeah.
This is a song that if I think I saw any cover band perform live, I would finger point the whole time. This is a song where you want to be surrounded by people just finger pointing and yelling, "Fell on Black Days." You just want to be in it, man. And it's awesome.
Like, like a perfect example, I was just like the Batman with the Robert Pattinson. They used Nirvana. This song could have been fucking used in a Batman movie. In fact, when they make the second one, they better be using like fucking Soundgarden songs, because like you'd be like, fuck yeah, that's Batman right there. Hell yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the mature adult version of the angsty teen life. It's the 30-year-old person who's like filling their gas tank and like doesn't want to drive to work and just like would rather just go, you know, sit on the beach and contemplate existence. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say? Like,
Yeah.
it is clearly like, what am I doing with my life? Like,
Well, yeah,
this is,
it's like,
is that Falling Down, that movie Falling Down with Michael Douglas, like where
yeah.
he's just walking through the streets depressed. That's that song. It's literally that song, that idea of, yeah, what am I doing with
Yeah.
my life? My life, yet like
Well,
everything's gone bad, you know?
I mean, you could almost really compartmentalize these records into two experiences. Thinking you've had a nihilistic experience and then having a nihilistic experience. Because
Sure.
you're like I'm really gonna get into Joy Division, and then the second one you just stare at a wall, and it's like that wall is the only thing that you trust because it's there, and it's like, yeah, that's what Superunknown is. Superunknown is I'm sitting on the couch staring at a wall. I thought I would like Joy Division. All I want to do is hurt myself. Like
it's like the mundane existence of life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement. It's a great song. And if there's anything I love more than a depressive song, it's a thick-ass, chunky boy. And we get that with Mailman. Mailman is such a chunky, thick-ass boy.
Bro, this is porn music. This is old school porn music. This song came on, and I was like, oh yeah, that people are having unprotected sex right now. This is what is happening.
But what I think we've been elaborating, there's like a step up in quality here with Superunknown as opposed to Badmotorfinger, and I think Mailman's a great example where if this was Badmotorfinger era Soundgarden, I think they would have like taken this song and somehow made it way too long and way too boring or whatever. But here, it's repetitive, sure, but like for some reason it really works for me. Kim's guitar playing I really like on it, obviously the chunky riff. But in particular, I think Chris's performance as well really adds a lot to this song that wasn't adding to Badmotorfinger in terms of like making these songs exciting, even when they kind of run long in the tooth. So I love Mailman. I think it's a great song, even though it's a deeper cut for the album.
It really carries this like almost like proto Queens of the Stone Age feel. You know, like someone hasn't just stumbled onto that. Like, but I imagine Josh Homme probably really dug this.
Oh, I think there is a song later on this record that literally is Queens of the Stone Age.
Yeah. So I was gonna say Mailman. I had to pull up the lyrics because it was like one of those moments where I was like, where he says, I know I'm headed for the bottom. He does that thing where he's like, I know I'm headed for the bottom. It's got this like weird, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's got this sound that I love because the beginning is like, you know, it is like that. I know I'm headed for the bottom. Like it's a different guy singing. That Mailman's one of those perfect examples of like where you see his vocal work change. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Like he's doing like this, it's really like Dirt in My Nails and whatever shit he's on the first like whole line. And then it's like I'm going to do it again. Like he goes, I know I'm headed for the better. You know, he's got this like vocal inflection that you're like, what the fuck is he doing? But then you're like, God damn, it sounds so good. This guy, no wonder he's sexy. Take his shirt off. This son of a bitch. Like I was like, I'm serious. Like Chris Cornell, like his voice, and especially in this album, you look at Kurt Cobain, you like this guy needs a bath, right? You look at Eddie Vedder, you like he needs an interpreter. You look at like you look at him and you're like, well, I don't know what Alice in Chains is doing. I like it feels like he's a homeless guy. You look at Chris Cornell and you're like, I'd have sex with this guy. What the fuck is going on? Like, I mean, he exudes all that frontman energy, but in a sad bastard sense. Like he's like Dracula. Like he's literally like Bram Stoker's Dracula. Like you're like, man, he's fucking sexy, but shit, he's dark as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like he's the prototypical black eyeliner fucking kind of dude you would see.
Yep.
The Crow. He's the fucking Crow. He's that guy. Like I feel like when they made the movie The Crow, Chris Cornell was the guy they were
He was the
looking
consultant.
at. Like that's the dude. He needs to look like that motherfucker right there. Like that's it. But Mailman, I know I said too good, kind of blah, whatever. I didn't mean that about Mailman because Mailman's still really fucking good. But I just think you have. Excuse me, I just burped. My bad. It's just Diet Mountain Dew. Sugar free, whatever the fuck it is. But no, it's like Fell on Black Days and like My Wave are just really, really iconic. And you go into this deep cut song that's, I would say, arguably, I probably like better than My Wave, in all honesty. Totally. But anyway. I feel like you got 7 or 8 tracks on this album that are fucking bangers. That are just fucking incredible.
My thing is, though, I would say it's 3 great and 1 bleh for this next song, for me at least.
I just like it because it's super fast.
And I like the speed of it too, but for me, Superunknown, the title track, named the whole album after this thing. I don't know if it was it's a cool album title, Superunknown, but like, if it's the kind of thing where you get like Master of Puppets, for example, where like it's the name of the album, but also like arguably one of Metallica's biggest songs. I don't know if that was the choice here, but for being the title track of the album, I think it's kind of like a weaker song on it. It's fast and that's great compared to Mailman, which is super slow. So it's like getting the energy back up. But for me, it's just fine. Like, I think the performances, once again, are great. But other than that, it's a middling track for me.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's cool. It feels like it drags, but like other than that, dude, like, I don't know, man. This slowly kind of dips back into Badmotorfinger territory in a way where it's like, hold on, where it's like, man, okay, you've had a real good run so far. Are we dipping? Or is it gonna be the trick again? But I mean, they don't. Because you get to fucking head down.
Well, so I will say this, Superunknown, I'd like Superunknown. And I think for me, it's probably not quality, it's nostalgia. Because I remember that chorus so well. All alone in the Superunknown. I remember this, thought you feared you fight. Like I just remember this sort of like rhythm he's going. And then I like the guitar work in it. I think it's a really good track. Is it the best track on this album? By far, no. Not even close. Because you're right, the next 4 songs.
Oh, I'd say
the next
like
5 songs, 6 songs. Yeah, really. Yeah, I think after this song, you have 5 or 6 in a row to me that I just love. In fact, my favorite song on this album is probably not what you guys are going to think, but it's okay. Like just from a emotional connection, if that makes sense. I think Superunknown, I just remember it so well because the chorus is iconic in my brain. I played this album a lot. When I was like 14 or 15 years old, a lot. I listened to this album tons on my Sony Discman.
Well,
so therefore you're saying the upward trend begins with Head Down.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, we're just in. I'm telling you, man. Josh Homme owes
this is the acid rock song by far.
Crazy, so good. I mean, like, because it's good in the landing, right? If they did this on Badmotorfinger, you would have been like, I mean, I see what you're doing, but this is like, no, you want it, we're giving it to you. You want to hear Mothers of Invention, we're fucking doing it. And but it still sounds like Soundgarden. That's the impressive thing. It doesn't sound like they're trying to do something else. It sounds like they wanted to do something, and then they did it.
And I think the reason it works well, though, is because of Superunknown. I think Superunknown leads into the song, and it gives you this sort of bend. That's what I'm saying I like about it. Because I think, look what bookends this track. You have Superunknown, which is this kind of like, almost like not speed, but it's a fast rock track. You go into this acid rock, and then you go right into this really dark, weird, ethereal, almost like international music sound, of like, you're building this sort of like flow from these tracks. Does it make sense? I think that's why Head Down works, because it's booked in by other tracks that keep the story going, right? Because essentially, Superunknown's probably, outside of the first track, Superunknown's probably the only weak dip you have in some ways. in that run, because you're going to write into another run of like really great shit. So it's almost like it's a refresher. Superunknown is a palate cleanser because you're going to get even darker. You're going to even get even kind of weirder.
Yeah.
On the Superunknown, like the track works because it's like you don't know where the fuck you're going. Like this is the trip we're taking you on. Here it goes. It's going to be unknown territory from this point, but it's still us.
Yeah, and I do like how Head Down collapses in on itself. Like it just, everybody just kind of like stops playing, and the drums are the last thing, and it almost sounds like he's just kind of like lazily hitting things. Like I like that it does that, because then you get literally the Soundgarden song in Black Hole Sun, which, even if you're not a Soundgarden fan, you probably know this song. It is the Soundgarden song for a reason. I don't know if this is the conversation we need to have, but the music video is bananas, like iconic. Insane. I don't really know what to say about it other than like there's a reason it is the Soundgarden song. Like there's a reason this is the Smells Like Teen Spirit for Soundgarden. It's that song, you know? Because so much can be said about it.
All I'm gonna say is, man, the bridge that goes into the last chorus of Black Hole Sun crushes when they do that descending riff, where it's like the rest of the song is like, hey, we might do a Black Sabbath thing, and then for 10 seconds they do a Black Sabbath thing, and you're like, fuck yeah, that's what I wanted. And then they don't end on it, they just bring it back into that chorus. Brilliant. Like a perfect song, truly.
Well, this is one of the songs that we were talking about, how we talk about being grunge band. This song doesn't feel like a grunge band. It doesn't. It feels like you're like this classic rock band that is like, this is going to be our swan song kind of. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That was a good reference that you made, Cody. Like saying, why am I blanking here? Ozzy.
Black Sabbath.
Like a Sabbath. It very much feels like a Sabbath song.
Mm-hmm.
Like the sound they're going for. And the pace, it's like long and drawn out, and it's methodical, and it just got this like, it's thick. I mean, it's like mashed potatoes thick. Like it's like that. And this is another song where I say his vocal work is just like, you can feel it. Like everything he sings, it's like you're in it. Like that's the other thing about his voice I like. Like this is one of those songs where you're like, oh yeah, God, he's got a good voice. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you just like the emotion in every single line that he says. Top tier.
Yeah, the run of the next couple songs really showcase Chris Cornell and his vocal abilities.
Oh yeah.
And we do have to acknowledge the little drum fill in this song, because the drum fill is so tasteful. Because you would imagine it would do some like, you know, huge, massive thing, and it does that. It's, what is it, Mike? It's like,
just a boom, 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 black hole, boom.
Yeah, and just like it's just so smart, because you hear it and you're like, I know where we're going now. Back into the chorus. Okay, thank you. Yeah, no, and then I mean, like, even, you know, it's, you think, okay, the big one, what's next? It's like another big one.
The second big one, like
yeah.
Spoon Man is
Spoon Man.
So good.
Which,
go ahead.
If you listen to the lyrics of the song, I just gotta be honest with you,
That's crazy.
It's the stupidest fucking song. It's basically like he was walking down the street in Seattle and he saw this fucking guy, just like because you hear the spoons in the fucking song. And like the more you listen to it, you're like, God damn it! The spoons. I almost never noticed this shit before because I was so caught up in the song, and now it's like you just like, it's fucking spoons everywhere in the song, and you're just like, it's like he saw this guy and he just said, this fucking Spoon Man, man. And he was like fucking high when he just looked at this guy and he says, I got this fucking song. And he's like, Kim, I got this fucking song. We got to write this shit. And they're like, their garage, writing a bunch of shit, you know, smoking clove cigarettes. Like, oh, it's set. And then, you know, I can imagine pitching to the guys like, we got a song about Spoon Man. They're like, what? Fuck it. Let's see what happens. After you did Black Hole Sun, you're like, ugh, you can write whatever the fuck you want. And then you hear it and you go, this shit sounds fucking cool, man. Because it feels like you're down in the trenches with a regular dude, and you're like, it feels very like human and like felt, and like, you know, there's this whole idea, and I'll use this like analogy, like in shoes now, to be barefoot and to feel grounded. It feels very grounded. Like there's this weird reality going on here, and you're like, I went from something that just feels like surreal to something that feels like overtly over the top, gritty and real, like I'm watching Dog Day Afternoon after I just watched 2001 Space Odyssey, but yet they still work because the fucking vocals and everything just works, and you're like, I'm in the same world, and this guy, I can know where he's at, man. It's like, yeah, we, like maybe we just need to be, and it's like all this political overt messages we're talking about too, this sort of like, I don't know where he was going with it, but I just, yeah, it works. But it's so, the lyrics are so fucking dumb. Like I looked at it, I go, this is the stupidest fucking track, but it works so fucking well, and I can't figure it out.
I actually think it was probably the opposite, where the rest of the band was like, they had the instrumentals laid down. They're like, this is the sickest shit ever. Chris, we need some
Probably
lyrics.
so.
And Chris was like, and he's like flipping through his journal. He's like, oh, shit. And then he comes across this like little poem he wrote about a spoon man. He's like,
that's probably it.
Starts laughing to himself. He's like, I got it. And then he goes in there. They're like, I don't know. Like, just let him do it.
Anybody know how to clack spoons in the background? Just find a guy from like Appalachia to do this shit.
But but the other thing, and I think what really makes this song work, honestly, is Matt Cameron's drumming.
Oh, yeah.
It. Like, the drum is so
Oh.
good. Especially that drum feature moment where it's just him, and then like the bass comes back and he's doing the boop 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 boop, the boop 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 boop. Yeah, it's so good.
Well, you know, there's a reason that Matt Cameron got the Pearl Jam gig, and it's because of all of this. It's like you look at his catalog, and not only is he a world-class drummer, but he also knows how to be tasteful with it, and that's the most important thing. Is like very rarely is there a song where Matt Cameron feels like he's just like throwing it to the wind. It's like he seems like someone who sat down, thought about his parts, played them, said, "How's that feel?" I just like Spoon Man because I think it's hilarious to walk into, say, like Merrill, and then just hear really quietly over the radio, "Spoon Man." It's like what is happening?
I agree. That's what I'm saying.
I'm getting Alanis Morissette, and then Spoon Man. It's like, yeah, the register he hits that is crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, you could hear it in fucking McDonald's. Like you're like,
oh
what?
Yeah.
But it's come together with your hands, save me. And just hear click, 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 click. But I'm serious, the back half of that song, you can hear the fucking spoons. And the thing is, I challenge you to listen again. People at home, listen to it again. There are times the fucking spoons, it's a loop. It's gotta be, because it sounds fucking stupid. Even the spoons don't sound right. Like it's like click, 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 click. I was like, it's a bad edit. And you're like, is this? Then they just said, well, find the guy playing spoons and record them. Like, do with the audio mic, want them to do like stuff.
Yeah, someone
clack your spoons for about 5 minutes for me, dude. I'll give you $20.
They just gave someone a couple PBRs and said, "Go ahead and knock this out for me, buddy."
Yeah, Joel, do you think you could clack some spoons for me? Metal, or you want fucking plastic? I don't give a fuck, dude. Just clack some spoons for me.
You know, silver.
Yeah, but it works. It's just so hokey, and it still is great. It's a fucking great song, and you're like, yeah. I don't understand, because it's like one of my top ones I like. So because it comes on, you're immediately like, Spoon Man
comes in like a train.
It's like Hey Soul Sister. Like you can't figure out. Don't laugh.
Yeah, those are.
You hear Hey Soul Sister and you go, Hey Soul. Why am I singing this shit? What's wrong with me? I just heard it playing. Like it's like you can't help yourself, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's great, and at least in my opinion, they keep up the greatness. Limo Wreck,
great.
Limo Wreck's so good, dude.
Too.
But the stank face comes back in full force here. We had it on Mailman, and it comes right back with Limo Wreck. And actually, it's tough to say on an album with so many good choruses, but this might. Oh man, I just saw the next song. I was gonna say this might be my favorite chorus on the whole album. Maybe not, but I think it's top 5 for sure. I mean, I think the chorus on Limo Wreck is so good, and again, showcases what Chris can do as a vocalist. But yeah, I saw the next song. I'm like, I don't know.
I think that's what's doing well on this album is that they realize all their strengths on the first album, and they're playing to it, right? So they know what Chris can do. It's like Chris do what he can do. Kim, we know what you can do with a guitar. Let's get a little bit more into like what you're doing. Like you said, Cody, drumming wise, let's be more tasteful and let's not try as hard and just be. It just feels effortless most of the time they're doing this. Like like going for it, but effortlessly going for it.
Well,
It like
the most important lesson that a young band can learn going from record 1 to record 2 is record 1, you play what you can. Record 2, you play what you want. That's the diversion that happens here. Is because you listen to Badmotorfinger, and there are a couple moments where it's like, I feel like you wanted to do something else, but you didn't trust yourself, you know? And then you get to this, and it's like, yeah, they probably toured for,
yeah.
3 years, just every day playing bars, and then you play big rooms, and then you play small rooms, and you practice, and you go to the studio to write songs. And it's like, yeah, inherently having your instrument in your hands for 6 hours a day, you're just gonna get better. You're gonna get looser with it. Like, and so I think that's where these moments like Limo Wreck come, or even the next song, where it's like, we don't have to follow a guide. No one is writing Soundgarden songs. We are writing Soundgarden songs, you know?
Yeah. The next song, The Day I Tried to Live, like two key facets. That bass, which the bass is really working. And this actually might be my favorite chorus. And I think it works on many levels. Obviously, Chris is the main factor, but just the message, right? Just the message of what he's saying, I think really allows that chorus to flourish in a really great way. And the rest of the song, I think, is great too. But I think the real standout are the bass and the chorus in particular.
Yeah. Well, so this is my favorite song on the record.
Yeah, for me it is too.
Okay.
Well, no.
I like the way that it kind of subverts what you're gonna get, right? Because you get that big opening with those cool guitars. You got like 3 different guitars doing 3 different things, and then you're expecting like this big explosion, right? You're like, all right, Soundgarden, they're gonna give it to me, and then you don't. You just get that like ba da 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 ba da 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 da, and it's like, huh, I like this. And then when that first chorus hits, dude, yo, he is like screeching that vocal line. Every time I hear it, I'm like, fuck yes, dude, this is sick. And then they do the key change a little bit when they get to the back end of the chorus, but then they bring it right back down. That's the what I love about the song is they know when to punch, and then they go, okay, we're back. We know what our strengths are right now, and it's this cool bass line. The drums are doing their thing. Guitar is going to hang, and then they, if I remember correctly, they do like a Sabbath thing again, and it's like, that's cool, man. Yeah, do more of that. Thank you. But they don't overplay their hand.
So Cody, I'll piggyback on what we talked about in the first album. How they're playing blues music. This song feels like at times like a soulful song, especially when you get to the latter near the end of that thing where he's repeating that chorus. One more time. He's doing these like runs where it's like his vocal work. You're like, they're singing like a blues soul like song. This is their church choir song. This is like it almost feels like this could be a closing track. Like you're like, this could clearly be, you could end a show with this song. Like it is one more time around. And like, you could just get the whole audience chanting this lyric. It's so simple and so beautiful and clean. And it works on that level for me. I think this is the perfection of those blues soul things they were trying to do in the first album. This is where we figured it out. Everything comes together in the time of touring. Like, you just said that, like over time with us playing together, we've worked what can we do with these instruments? Where can we go with these instruments? Where can we get these sounds? And this is it. This is the pinnacle. And I feel like as good as Fell on Black Days is, because I think Fell on Black Days is probably the best song on this album as a whole song, The Day I Tried to Live is probably the most full song. Does that make sense? Like it feels full.
Yep.
Like you feel like, yes, this is a great track. And there's 3 fucking great tracks. Like if you would say there's 3 masterclass songs on this album, like I would say pinnacle of grunge music. If you're going to use grunge, there's 3 songs on this album that I think are probably some of the best grunge songs ever. If that was the grouping you'd put them in,
Well, what's funny is they're in that grunge grouping, and then they give us a punk song out of nowhere. But
this is my favorite song on the album.
No shit, really?
Fuck yeah, kickstand. Hell
Wow,
yeah,
this is probably
I fucking
my
love it.
like
I love
second
it.
to least favorite song.
It's a personal song. I remember the song as a kid, like on this album when we playing this song, be like, "Kickstand, you flew off," and you know, like I should be like, "Oh shit, this song, this like 1.5 minute song." Fucking love it. Like it just comes out of nowhere. It goes fast. It doesn't try to do anything stupid. It's dumb as shit, just like Spoon Man track, but it just works because it's like, I want to write a punk song. I just want to do something really fast. We've been doing these long, drawn out, thick songs. Let's do something fast and fucking stupid. And let's just hit it really hard. I want to do like, you know, it's like, it's a better Green Day song. It's like if Green Day is like, Green Day should have put this song on their album. We're going to fucking do it. You know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what it felt like. Cause it's the same time period as Green Day.
I appreciate how short it is. I'll give it that. It goes in and out, and that's all I needed to do. Like, because it's not my favorite song by leagues, but I never skip it because it's like it's a minute and 30 seconds. Like, but it's not bad by any means. It's a good little punk song.
It's a filler song.
Yeah, but that's very good point. To me, it is just a filler song to get to other songs on this record.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, it's just, you know, it's a song. You can't go from "A Day I Tried to Live" and it's like, yo, that's a masterpiece. It's like, all right, okay, yeah, I guess should have just ended there. I don't need another 20 minutes. I don't need another 20 minutes of music, Soundgarden.
It's an aperitif, dude. It literally is like it feels like a secret track. Does that make sense? Like it should have been like 8 minutes and this thing plays. You're like, what the fuck? Yeah, man. Fuck yeah, dude. What just happened? It's the music they play in the background when you're changing the set. You know, but I just like it. I like it. It's like I said, it's not my favorite, not the best song on this album. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it's one of my favorite on this album just because I like it.
Well, then how do you feel about Fresh Tendrils?
I don't like it.
Don't like it.
So this is
it's a fucking going back to that first album shit.
Yeah,
what it is.
This is a Badmotorfinger song.
Yeah.
Like second half Badmotorfinger song.
This is
the
what
sound
happened.
is cool. That kind of sound. This dark shit.
I did my first listen through on Superunknown, and I got to Fresh Tendrils, and I did this. I went and I looked at how much time was left on the record, and I went, because I knew it was no. I was like, there's probably no coming back from this fucking. It sucks, dude. Sucks. Bad song.
I had a similar sentiment in that. No, I was about to say is that I had a similar sentiment in that. Yeah, I don't really care for this song, but Jason, I think you're getting these songs confused. I think you're talking about 4th of July being that heavy, grimy mud demon coming out of the dude. Like, I may be alone in this. I fucking love 4th of July.
Do you?
Yeah, I love it a lot.
There are times I'm like, oh.
It is Badmotorfinger-esque in that it's one thing drawn out for a long time. And sure, you can shave a minute, I'm cool. But like the second that song starts, it literally sounds like a monster crawling out of the swamp. And like, that's cool. Like a 300-pound alligator just crawling out of the swamp in the mud. And it's like coming at you slowly. But like, you're too scared to move because it's this 300-pound alligator coming at, maybe 300, like 500 pounds, whatever. Yeah. Right. But I appreciate the sound of it because some of these songs are dark sounding. This literally sounds like pits of depression, pits of hell song. And I love it for that.
Well, I think that's probably what he was doing with the title and everything it's trying to talk about.
Yeah. I don't know. At this point, it's like, I wasn't, this is crazy. I wasn't fatigued until like Fresh Tendrils, but man, like the fatigue hit me so hard because I was so excited to get to the middle, to get to like, you know, the beef of the beef Wellington, and then it's like, ah shit, now I just got pie crust, man. This sucks, dude. I ate all my beef, you know, like fuck.
I assume you
that's like some dumb Spoon Man fucking lyrics.
But I got it. I understood.
Beef of my beef Wellington. I should be you for that track now.
I assume you feel similar sentiments towards Half, Cody.
Oh, dude, all I wrote for my notes is we're an hour into this fucking record. That's all I have written. It's weird. We are an hour into this fucking record. I started like, oh man, I feel like I was losing my mind, dude.
Yeah, this is not the time to experiment, Soundgarden.
No.
And what's the unfortunate thing is that I like the instrumentation of this song. Yeah. It's just the goddamn vocals. Like, what are we doing?
It should have just been an instrumental.
Yeah, little instrumental intro to Like Suicide is what should have been, but it unfortunately is not.
And it's like, it's such a shame, man, because what I think happened, this is my theory, and Jason, you might be able to elaborate on this. When
Because I was
CDs,
in the band. And I was like,
Because you're old.
because you were around for this. When CDs first came out, did they try to cram as much stuff onto them as possible?
well, CDs
Like if you
had
bought
a
it,
limit. Like you had a time limit, right? So CDs could only record when they first came out, it was like 45 minutes, and then they could record like 60 minutes, and then they would like got them up to like 65 or 70 minutes. There's like they had like a amount you could only go so far.
yeah,
So I think, and there was also this talk at the time. 2 CDs were like $18, $16, and you're talking they were expensive shit in the '90s. Paying like $16 for an album, you're like, holy fuck, that's a lot of money, right? You'd be like, oh my god, albums are so expensive. It's almost a comparison of like video games now where they're like $60, $70 a piece. Like you'd be like, holy shit, how many times am I going to listen to this album? There may be only 3 tracks out there. Am I going to want to listen to the whole thing? So I think bands, if it feels like bands were trying to pack as many songs on there, so they feel like their audience wasn't getting robbed financially. Does that make sense? Like it's like we don't want to give them 45 minutes because artists would be like, why the fuck am I got? Like I'll never forget. This is going to sound like a weird thing, but John Cougar Mellencamp had this album, right? That was fucking, yeah, but it was the song that was a really hit, Wild Night. There's that song, Wild Night, but there was 9 tracks on that album. It was like 38 minutes, right? And I remember this album saying, it's a really short album. Couldn't get 60 minutes, couldn't get 50 minutes out of this album. Like people were talking shit about this album. So like I think people expected 50 minutes to an hour. And I think people like U2 and other artists like that had fucked it up because U2 was doing like 50 minutes to 60 minutes on a fucking album, because they would have a 5-minute track where they'd be like the Edge just playing fucking guitar. But the fucked up thing is the Edge was a pretty solid guitar player who's playing like cool sounding shit. So you would let him sort of riff with guitars versus like bands like this. They don't need to be fucking doing songs more than 3.5, 4 minutes. Unless it's The Day I Tried to Live. And then you're like, that motherfucker can play it for 7 minutes because that's a fucking amazing track, right? Yeah.
Because what gets me is like if there are 5 less songs on this record, is a 10 out of 10. This in my opinion would stand above all of the other records in this category.
I think you take 3 tracks out of this album, it'd still be a 10 out of 10.
But it's like, man, and especially too, like, like we're going some weird places on this thing, like especially, getting to the last track, like Suicide. It's like, dog, this shit is 7 minutes long. It's a good 7 minutes, but man, I've been here for an hour and 3 minutes at this point. Like,
dude, I think it's because the 2 or 3 tracks before it are not great.
That's what I'm saying.
I hate it, right? If like Suicide had come in after The Day I Tried to Live, well, first of all, that's a dark fucking like 14 minutes.
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah.
Put a gun in my mouth. That's why you
tough
need to
run,
there, right? But like, I think that's you throw kickstand there. People are like, oh, okay, and then they go like, what the fuck just happened? And you're like, the last. Like, what? Oh, what? I mean, that would actually be a good idea. You'd be like, man, did I just have stroke out? But yeah, I agree with you. I think I really think if you just took Tendrils through half, you'd be like, okay, it would upgrade it.
I'm inclined to agree somewhat. I would still keep 4th of July personally, but I would get rid of Tendrils half. Maybe a song or 2 before, but I think Like Suicide is a great close. And yeah, it's talking about difficult subject matter, but like it's kind of beautiful. Like it sounds pretty, even though suicide's not a pretty subject. I think that was an interesting choice. And to close out a record that I agree, Cody, is too long, right? Shave some songs and we're good. I wasn't disappointed in the ending of it, right? There was a point where I was like, I'm glad I got here, right?
Yeah.
I think this song is a good close.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, it's one of those things where, especially like you look at it and you look at the sequencing on, say, like Spotify, and you get to this last song and it's like, dude, 7 minutes. Holy shit. About suicide from a man.
But you have to hold on. You have to look at it back then.
I
You
know.
have to look at it about then. But, I mean, at the time point, people weren't looking at fucking tracks.
I
Like they
know.
were looking at Spotify. They didn't know it was an hour and 10 fucking minutes until they listened to the whole fucking album, right? So like, I do think there probably were people who got to like through 4th of July, which is like not the same kind of vibe. And they
Yeah.
probably were like, what the fuck am I listening to? You know, like, I mean, they probably were like, holy shit, where am I going? You know, but I think they probably took the rabbit hole because they had 10 fucking tracks before that were amazing. And they're
Yeah.
like, there's got to be something. And like Suicide is a very great, it's a great song. It's a great song, but you got to slog through some mud shit to get to it.
Well,
Which is maybe what they wanted. Maybe they wanted you to have to force yourself through it.
Yeah, maybe
You know
that's
what I'm
what
saying? Maybe
Fourth
point of
Fourth
it,
of
I don't know.
July. 4th of July is the proverbial bullshit of half we're gonna have to get through to get to this song, and it's like, yeah, just don't put half there. I don't know. Soundgarden's not gonna listen to us, but like, you know,
Yeah, we're a little late, but
Yeah.
I agree in that half should have been left on the cutting room floor.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
overall, though, like, you know, we were commenting, I think you throw off 3 or 4 of these songs, I think you got a killer record here. I don't know if I would go 10 out of 10 personally. 9 out of 10, though, easily. A lot of these songs add up to a pretty damn good record. Where, in the case of Badmotorfinger, I think you got to cut off a lot. Jason's comment about it being a great EP, I think
Yeah.
makes a lot more sense. I think Superunknown deserves to be more than an EP because you've got that much good material on it throughout. So in the clear-cut verses of the album Fight Club, I'm going to assume we're all in agreement here that Superunknown is definitely the better record.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a more mature, better built record.
Yeah. So here's the question then: how do you guys feel about the album art for these?
You know, what even is Badmotorfinger's album art?
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of like, it's a cool little pattern, but like, I don't know what it is.
I don't know. I assume it's supposed to be some kind of Himalayan ritual thing. I don't know.
Maybe. I would give it to Superunknown just because it's more iconic. His face looks fucking weird, and it still creeps me out to this
Like
day.
he has like elf ears or some shit.
Yeah, like
it's some
Elephant
kind of
Man.
like
Yeah.
fairy.
Yeah.
Like it's a
He is
Lord of the
Elephant
Rings
Man.
fucking thing going
Yeah.
on with a melted flame. It's like an elf from hell. It's like that movie with fucking Will Smith. Fucking where he like
Oh, the one where
elves
he's
and-
like friends with the robot? Or
No,
the
that's
alien?
iRobot, motherfucker.
No,
I was
no,
saying
no.
iRobot, literally the name of the time. No, the one where he's like a cop in L.A. and there's
Oh,
like
yeah.
ogres and shit.
Brightburn?
I actually like
Bright.
Bright.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
actually
that's
enjoyed
what I
it.
was talking about.
But it's got that vibe. Like that's the world we're living in. We're
Yeah.
living like that album could be the fucking soundtrack for that type of movie. The Crow, like that type of fucking movie. You know, this supernatural fucking weird shit
Yeah.
with leather coats and chains on your wallet.
Yeah, it's just Dark City. You're just talking about Dark City.
Dark City, fucking great movie. Let's not even talk about that. That's fucking a masterclass of a film. Same guy directed both movies though. Directed The Crow and fucking Dark City. Alex Proyas. Anyway,
Cody, you can't get Jason started about movies. We're going to be here.
I know. I that's why I was laughing, because of the, oh boy, we're getting another hour of content.
And we've already run an hour and 42 minutes at this point. So I think
the fans are gonna love it. Mike's parents are gonna
no,
love it.
I think the issue is that we're running out of recording time for the month. If we go 2 hours, I think I'll
okay.
get cut off. So
Oh,
man.
shit.
Well,
yeah, because
we'll wrap
Converge
it
was
up
2
then.
hours. Then I did my sidebar, and now we got another 2-hour episode. So they're going to cut us off here. They're going to pull the plug.
well, so what? Wait a minute. So overall, we think Black Hole Sun, awesome. Favorite track on both albums?
For me, I'd probably go Outshined and Outshined and The Day I Tried to Live. I think I would agree is
What
probably
about you-
Superunknown's top.
What about you, Cody?
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I think Outshined and The Day I Tried to Live are both pretty incredible.
I'm gonna go with Jesus Christ Pose and Kickstand.
Jesus Christ Pose would be my easy number 2, though.
Jesus Christ Pose, Kickstand, you flew up.
Ugh. This is either going to be the highest ranked or worst ranked episode on the 5 listeners we have.
Yeah,
It's okay.
they're gonna have a great time.
We're gonna get at least 6 or 7. I can bring a few.
Yeah, you tag it for us, and you'll get 2 more listeners in here.
If we say something really heavy politically, Maybe we can get like something in there. Like Cody, say the N word for us.
Oh no!
All right.
No.
We're shutting this down.
I'm just gonna.
We're good.
Cody's gonna play us an outro music. Looks like here.
Is that what's happening?
Is that what's happening?
Okay, look at this.
Kickstand, you flew up when I.
That was Wood by Alice in Chains.
Question mark.
Yeah. Wood.
Well, Alice in Chains is down the pike at some point, but
Listen,
I think
hey,
go ahead.
real talk.
Now, if we're gonna
real
talk about
talk,
album
kids.
cover though, that three-legged dog album cover is fucking killer, bro. No joke, it is.
Yeah.
That album cover. I can't
What is that?
remember.
What is that? Is that Rainier Fog?
I can't remember that fucking.
I think it doesn't have a title.
I don't
It's
know
just
if it
called
does.
Three-Legged Dog.
Yeah, I think it is.
Oh. Yeah. Real talk though. Listen, hey, we made a lot of suicide jokes. Don't fucking kill yourself, man. That shit sucks.
Obviously no.
Yes.
Obviously no.
It's a shame that Chris Cornell died in the way he did.
Yes, I wish Chris Cornell was still around because
Yeah.
he was such a good vocalist, and there's too many artists that do end up taking things into. Being an artist is a dark place, Cody. We know this, Mike.
Yeah. Call
Mike's
your,
already in a dark place.
Yeah.
Mike is permanently in a dark place.
I have been for years.
He's a sociopath, but like the rest of us, it's just I mean, it's tough. Being an artist, you struggle with depression, you struggle with issues, you struggle with things, and you unfortunately have lost too many great artists through issues over time, and it's a shame that Chris Cornell's not still around because I think music wise and vocally wise, he'd still be sounding great. His voice would be incredible still.
This is my one stance, and after this we can end the episode. For the love of God, if you feel like you were in a place to harm yourself, just avoid Joy Division. Don't listen to Joy Division. We don't want fucking Joy Division, okay? Joy Division.
You were serious here.
I am. You ever listen to that record? That record's like
somebody. Yes, please reach out to
yeah.
Talk to somebody.
Yeah, for the love of God, don't listen to Joy Division.
Okay.
Oh man.
Cody doesn't want to make this serious. Apparently, Cody wants to.
This is serious. It's a
All right.
heartbreak of a record.
Jason, thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys for inviting me back again. I'll be your next guest.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
When we talk about some other grunge-based band or some shit, we'll compare Smashing Pumpkins. Or the albums I want to do is Linkin Park, Hybrid Theory versus Meteora. I'm throwing it out there.
We'll throw it on the list.
That's the two I want to do.
Yeah, maybe we'll do it whenever we get the whenever we find out who's the new. Jesus.
Suicide scenario. Jesus, Jason.
We need to find out who the new Linkin Park vocalist is, and then we'll do it. Yeah.
Well, until then, this is Mike, Cody, and Jason joining us for Album Fight Club.
Hold on.
Yeah, okay.
Hold on. When is this album airing?
Hopefully tomorrow.
Tomorrow. If you get a chance, get your tickets to go see Tommy at Theater Republic. Mike's future wife is in it, and she's doing a hell of a job. So the show's fun. Go see it. Those who listen to it, get your tickets. Anyway, throw.
Well, we appreciate the shout out. But thank you for listening. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being you. And we'll see you on the next one.
Take care.
Deuces.